Hello, welcome to our second of our 8 Gatsby Benchmark talks with myself and Debbie. So, Debbie, we've done the first one, it went well. We're going to move on to Gatsby Benchmark 2 now. So, can you give us a heads up what Gatsby Benchmark 2 is? Take it from there.
Okay, definitely. So, this benchmark is learning from career and labour market information. And it's basically that by the age of 14, every student should have had access to this kind of information, and parents as well, actually. The reason this is an important benchmark is because it is important for social mobility. So it does level out the playing field, and also really crucial to help young people make the very, very best choices for their future based on up-to-date, accurate, relevant information. So I think this is really fundamental to careers, this one. It is totally critical that everybody understands what the world of work looks like now and how to become what you want to become. That's fundamentally what this benchmark's about.
Yeah, definitely. I think we had this conversation before we came on and started recording, didn't we? That schools often find this one quite difficult.
Yeah.
And it probably stems to the fact of there is so much information out there. I think it is probably where it stems from.
Yeah.
But what we've both found when we've discussed this is that schools perhaps just are missing opportunities when this actually happens. For example, if you have someone come in and speak to a group of students about what they do and the industry that they're working in or the job that they do, to an extent, that is career and labour market information.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that. When I chatted to career leaders about this, if they're really struggling, and I say, tell me about, the employer engagement that you've had, and they talk to me about, we had someone come in and tell us about their job and how they got their job and what they do in that. I'm like, well, that's labour market information. That's all about how to become that job. So sometimes doing a bit of a mapping exercise is really, really good. Looking at what events you're planning or that you've done, and what benchmark does that mean? Because sometimes an activity can meet more than one benchmark, and I think career leaders aren't always picking up on that. But yeah, I mean, the ways what this information really means, it's everything from employment sector information, job information, salaries, routes into careers, pathways, qualifications, courses, entry requirements, and applying for jobs. That's what this is all about, really. That whole range of
there is a lot there, isn't there, in terms of content that could be determined as career and labour market information. I guess. What would you say is probably the area out of all that content that schools kind of struggle to, I guess, get into their programs? Do you think?
I think it's about. I think apprenticeship seems to be a common area that schools say to me, I don't know much about that. So that's one area, and that's a really crucial one, and more so now. The government's committed to levelling up apprenticeships so that they are. Seen as having the same status as degree routes, so it's an important area. But I think employment sectors seems to be one, and sadly, local employment sectors seems to be a bit of a mystery. I know when I talk to schools about Greater Lincolnshire and our sort of important priority sectors and opportunity areas, they're like, God, I didn't know about that. When you think about Greater Lincolnshire, it's really exciting. Some of the areas like, the low carbon and the agri-food and, the developments in those areas, it's really exciting. I mean, all of those sectors are. So I think it's trying to enable teachers and parents to upskill their knowledge a little bit about opportunities locally. I mean, obviously, with our LEP hat on, we want our talented young people to stay living and working in Greater Lincolnshire. So I think it's really important that we encourage schools to explore those really exciting opportunities in Greater Lincolnshire. But I would say that's an area that seems commonly difficult. But I think it's understanding what LMI is and how does it link to some of the other benchmarks.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right. And I think, what we're imagining here is probably careers leaders listening to this. And I think what I would say to them is that this is not just your responsibility to be the expert within your institution here. It's about trying to empower your staff that are at the schools to start understanding this as well. So again, that's something that myself and Debbie and your enterprise advisor would be able to support with. If that's something that you think, I need to work on the staff across the school to get this in, then get in touch with us. We'll come up with some ideas collectively on how we can do that, because
definitely,
schools have asked me in the past to come in and deliver a session on LMI to students, and I think that's all well and good, but again, it's almost a bit like that splash in the pan, isn't it? It's I've gone in and done the session and then finished, and then that's kind of it. Then it's about and then we'll forget it. It's about following it up. It's having regular inputs about with some of this information into
absolutely, and starting early as well. I think we've got to start looking at what can we do from year 7 onwards, so that students are building up their knowledge about labour market information. Again, that goes back to what we talked about before. Having a think about by the time they leave, what information do we want them to have, and how far back can we start delivering that? It might be in year 7. It's just about exploring types of jobs, and then in year 8 it might be entry into those types of jobs, and then year 9 it might be looking at the business sectors. And I think it's thinking that logical way, but there's loads, as you said, there's loads of resources. There's almost too much, but we can send links to the ones that I think we find really useful. So most of our schools will be using some sort of career platform, whether it's Unifrog or Zello or Kudos or Start, and they're all full of brilliant LMI stuff. National Careers Service website, I think, is fantastic, and in fact it's what a lot of the other platforms use for their LMI. The amazing Apprenticeship website is absolutely chock-a-block full of brilliant resources, case studies, lesson plans, flashcards, videos. Our own website, Greater Lincolnshire LEP website, and the Greater Lincolnshire LEP's World of Work website covers all of our important industry sectors. So looking at how you could use that maybe in tutor times to explore all of those sectors, because it really is, have a look at that, because that's not used enough, I think. And there's the Complete Careers resource.
I've got that here. Finding Futures.
My daughters have both been through that and found it absolutely fabulous. So, and then there's also DWP. So there's resources available there. Some fantastic people that can come and do LMI sessions for you in schools. We've had really excellent feedback about that, so we'll put the links to that on there as well. Good stuff.
One thing I just wanted to touch on before we finish, Debs, and I think we've mentioned it at the start, it's about encouraging parents as well. I think
oh my gosh,
parents' engagement is something that I guess when we're talking to schools, we want to try and encourage schools to do as much as possible. I know it's difficult, it's not an easy thing. So I guess what sort of things could we suggest to potentially involve parents in this process?
That is a really important one. It is an expectation as part of this benchmark that parents are provided information on LMI. So some of the things that I think work really well is if you have a newsletter, a school newsletter or a careers newsletter, to have a standard section on LMI. So you might be covering, you might be providing parents with links to brilliant websites, or you might be spotlighting industry sectors, giving them updates. And again, we're going to be providing regular updates on local LMI. So that's a really useful way. Making sure your website has a parents page that has all of these links and information. That's really important. Things like Parents' Evening, having a stand, a parents' evening, a careers stand that looks at all of the information that's available to students and talking to parents. And actually, I always think that's a really good one, because our parents, they've got tons of LMI knowledge themselves from their own jobs and industry sectors. So maybe some of them can come and share with a group of students. So yeah, website, newsletters, social media. If schools have a Facebook page or an Instagram page, sharing information on that is really good as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that all of those really good suggestions, and some great ideas. I think they'll be on Gatsby Benchmark too. So yeah, we hope you've found that useful. We'll attach the resources that we think are really useful to kickstart you. And like we said in the other one, again, if you're struggling at the start of the academic year, get in touch, and we'll be happy to help.